100,000 followers as an H-1B is much more powerful than a one American vote. I mean, I'm sure you understand that.
No, I do understand, but if H-1B vote is going to be strong in America, then America is going to look after itself. And so how does this vote become so strong? I mean, it's American problem.
I mean,
well, they're future voters, and they vote in line with the general Indian population in America. The American citizen Indian Americans vote similarly to H-1Bs.
but Morel, isn't your, I guess, anxiety over the fact that Indians are very conservative, but yet they still voted very liberal and Democrat?
Yeah, I've been pointing out the dichotomy for a while. Because there's the same exact values, the same family-centered, faith-based. If you write down on a list, what are your values, it'll be the same damn list. So Trump and Modi, I think, will become best friends. I think they will. We'll never know how things will go, but I think that they will together really solve this to where there will be no hesitance next time around for a J.D. Vance, for instance. And especially with J.D.'s wife, that's the easy one. Since she was really the star of the show of the inauguration and everything else. So, yeah, I truly want it to be solved to where the Hindu community, it's not in India. My criticism again, it's the same. They're going to vote the same exact way. If you just took the Hindu-Indian vote, if you took the Hindu Indians and did a poll, and then did the same poll with the NRIs here, it will come out very similarly.
What was basically the VP, Big Jaideep? What was he doing before he became vice president?
He was a senator from Ohio and kind of a young rising star in the Republican Party. He wrote a book about the Appalachian region, about the mountain poor area of the...
And HK, you should also know they didn't just write a book. He didn't just write a book. They made a fucking movie about it. So when they make a movie about it, it tugs at people's heartstrings. So for example, I was born in West Virginia. My mom loved watching this movie because it reminded her of her giving birth to me in West Virginia, and I spent the first two or 3 years of my life there. I don't remember West Virginia. I don't think I've even been there as an adult. But like I can't remember ever having spent.
The movie was made after he was a senator. He became very famous from the book itself. He was a thought leader about what's going on with the poor areas of America.
And so the book is called A Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah, it's a pretty classic book.
Elegy is like a fancy word that people use. It means like poem, but he's trying to contrast the fancy word elegy, which is like an English literature term. Like if something's high.
All right, Andrew, it's enough on that. The main point is me and Andrew grew up in these areas. They're very keen. They call it flyover country. And so a person from these parts that's made it up there, it's a big deal. To all the plumbers, even as a plumber in Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty cool. Being a top 10 employee.
This is why Trump captured the vote of the labor unions. And Trump captured the vote of coal miners, steel workers, all these people who used to be 90% Democrat. This is a big way of how... Well, Trump already had that attraction, but JD pushes it over for them. But yeah, before that, he was Yale Law and military Marine. Or Marine.
Hey, Trey. Sorry, Marl.
Yeah, go ahead, Machi. Welcome.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Hey, Sejliti. Hey, JR. So I actually saw a couple of videos of J.D. Vance, maybe 3 or 4 minutes each. I thought he comes across as a very bright guy, very sharp guy.
His debate was incredible against Tim Walz. It really, you could see the stark contrast in intelligence, optimism, and just like freshness, I suppose you could say. You know, he is very smart.
Sure.
I mean, GR can change his name to GR Vance.
J.R. Vance. Oh. How much? Yeah, they got to swing the Indian vote around. I think it will, but and Vivek has been shown proven correct after yesterday's AI news. So Vivek went from zero back. He went from hero to zero back to hero in a matter of 24 hours.
How come?
Well, I mean, he was a hero. Then he went to zero at the H-1B thing.
Yeah.
Because of he said too much. And then the Chinese revolutionized AI or shortcutted, cracked the code, kicked our ass.
No. Jeremy was making good points about that. Whatever.
Jeremy doesn't know, and he's probably wrong. Jeremy's not
I
making.
deal with Jeremy a lot, dude. I talk to him a lot.
But listen, man, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people too.
No, but Jeremy's specifically in South Korea.
Let me explain to you why you don't have to worry about one Jeremy. Just go see what the stock is doing, okay? And then that's a million Jeremys and how they're moving their money.
When was the last time you spent time in Northeast Asia, either Japan or South Korea?
Ask Jeremy, did he buy the dip?
Moro, have you physically spent time in either Japan or South Korea recently?
How does that help you understand what's going on?
It's because the whole fucking chicks war is about how these fucking chinks basically they can't get they're having a chink war. The chicks war is a fucking chink war, man. It's these fucking chinks. They're just like.
Cool it, Andrew, please. So HK plural. The Chinese kicked our ass yesterday, by all accounts, except a few that think it's a dream that they didn't do it. It's a fake. Okay, like young Jeremy, the friend of Andrew. But I think that they're out of line.
Hey, come on, man! Bring him up, man.
The Chinese are kicking our ass.
Hey, Morel. This is like you're a bully, man. Seriously.
The Chinese are kicking our ass. Vivek is proved correct.
Yeah, no one wants to hear all this bullshit.
And
I want to hear what Andrew has got to say.
Listen, Plural asked me a question. He didn't ask you or Andrew. So you both of you mute the phone.
Yeah, but where's the? Why are you trying to be a bully here?
No, I'm trying to answer Plural's question.
He's not bullying, JR. Andrew was screaming out C word, C word, C word, war, war, war. I mean, let's have a little composure here. Let's try to be grown-ups, Andrew.
Andrew believes his friend Jeremy. I'm pointing out Jeremy's just a guy flapping his lips. If you look at the stock market, 1 million Jeremys are selling NVIDIA right now, okay? They're not buying it. And Mr. Big Mouth Jeremy, ask him how much NVIDIA he bought today. If the answer is 0, he's just talking. So
I don't know why anybody would buy NVIDIA. 2.9 trillion? I mean, what is it going to go? 3 trillion, 4 trillion, 5? Like, how much is too much in market cap?
If you've got the news that it's fake, go ahead and sell, borrow everything you can and buy NVIDIA if you know it's fake. Otherwise, you're in the boat with the rest of us trying to figure out what's going on.
I'd rather buy Google any day of the week over NVIDIA.
Well, the QPUs are hotter than GPUs, and then you got the TPUs. But
well, that's all good, JR. But the point is that China's out competing us now. Well, just like what Vivek said before they canceled him.
They're not, man. They just copy pasted and they just built something.
Oh yeah, go open up the front page news. Anyway.
I looked at DeepSeek.
What does the front page news say about every newspaper in the fucking world?
Yeah, it will all die at some point.
Okay, go buy the stock then, or make a wage.
It's not a multi-mode model, first of all, right? And this is doing a whole lot of things. Do you even know what ChatGPT or Gemini
I'll do a
Google
wager.
Colab actually does?
Let's do a quick wager. Let's not do money. Let's do this, JR.
Dude, you know I'm working at
I think NVIDIA.
Why don't you just take to your MD hospital medicine?
NVIDIA. Let's do a quick wager. This will be fun for the whole group. Listen to this. I think NVIDIA will keep going down. You think it'll bounce back up? Whoever's wrong quits Clubhouse forever. You want to take the deal?
Dude, that's why are you framing it like that?
Because you're so sure it's a bullshit.
That's an all or
Just drop
nothing
back
bet,
down.
Morel. I don't think many of these dopamine addicts here would be able to limit their dopamine
I mean,
Dude,
production.
I'm the one who brought up QPUs. Why do you think I brought up QPUs? Because Google, I always said this. I said this a year ago that Google is going to outrun many of these companies. I mean, the moment you start putting QPUs, man, it's over.
There's no QPU. They did it without any QPU. They're outrunning America. That's the point of the news.
Yeah, but it's only doing text.
Why do you view hardware and these GPUs as being more valuable than an advertising network like Google? I mean, that to me seems, I know they're both hand in hand and perpetual, but the advertising industrial complex seems to be, to me, to be a better business than a hardcore manufacturing industrial complex.
Yeah. Okay. My head's not working right.
Look, I think Google indexed the whole world for the first time. There's very few things that aren't indexed anymore. And that becomes super valuable. And generally speaking, with that comes scale and capacities to articulate many other products because they have scale. And it's a great business. And if you get a chance to buy more, I'd definitely say yes to Google. But the hardware business is slightly different. I'd say it's a completely different world unless they want to feed their own servers and their own data centers, which is entirely conceivable. But I'd say it's a hyper specialization, and we got to look out. I would submit that the world of tech is so turbulent, it's been so forever, that the next best thing, the next big thing is just down the road. And you look at stupid ass examples like fax machines and whatnot. Out of the blue comes this new piece of tech, and it just wrecks the entire stock market. It's nothing new. The question is, can the Chinese AI, because I use ChatGPT, I have this $200 a month enterprise subscription that I just picked up a week and a half ago. And I found it to be extremely lackluster, frustratingly painful. And I wasn't impressed at all. I just tried doing a piece of financial modeling on ChatGPT. And give them instructions, revenue assumptions, sheets after sheets. I nurtured this baby for 2 hours. I was giving instructions. Can you believe it, HK? You might actually be interested in this. After 2 hours of trying to get her to do a financial model for me, all I get is junk data on itself. Can you believe it?
I mean, what you should have done is you should not be paying $200 for it. Cancel the subscription. Use DeepSeek. It's free.
Yeah, you should check it out, Guru. The problem
Now I will.
You'll be giving everything to the Chinese government a little bit, but if you're okay with that.
Well, you know what? I hear you, but the only reason why I'm a cat on the wall on this, bro, is because after this whole Indian guy who got slaughtered, this Balaji guy, his whole problem with ChatGPT at all was that copyright violations are like right now.
Which Balaji?
This kid that got slaughtered.
Suchir?
Yeah.
Sachin Balaji, yes, thank you.
About a different. I thought you were talking about Balaji Srinivasan.
No, sorry, Sachin Balaji. Yeah,
Okay,
that guy.
Suchir.
Yeah, and his whole angst against OpenAI was that, if you recall, is that, well, they're committing copyright violations galore. And I look at that, and then I look at the kids in Silicon Valley saying he deserved it, he had it coming, this is like the best company ever, it's going to disrupt the world, and what do you have? You have the copyright violations, really, Puru? And I'm like, on the other side, I look at the CCP, and I'm like, is that really such a bad thing if all that ChatGPT does is to, get into this kind of dubious data mining business, and then they're feeding the machine? Would it be so bad if the CCP does it exactly the same? That's the only reason why I'm a cat on the wall. But dude, this ChatGPT, right? So let's say you give them a bunch of revenue assumptions, and you say, okay, I want this, do me a P&L, and then do me a balance sheet, 5-year projection. Here are my revenue assumptions. Go get me cost structures for this business. Do some research on secondary data that's available to this country, and then feed that all into an Excel sheet. 2 hours of questioning, and she was like, okay, Plural, you want me to do this? You want me to do that? Do you need this? And all of that. All of that was exciting, right? And I thought something will actually come out of it.
I think for
But it gave me dunks. There was zeros and ones in my fucking Excel sheet.
I think for that you kind of need to use Copilot. I don't know how to use it, but maybe Jeremy will.
I see.
Copilot is people who think they use Copilot are people who pretend to code. People who pretend to code say they use Copilot. I've never heard anyone say else they use Copilot. People who pretend to write software say they use Copilot. I don't know anybody else.
Yeah,
but that's the whole point of AI. You don't have to know how to code. AI is supposed to help you code. Isn't that right, Andy?
That's right. Mark Zuckerberg is like saying that, yeah, we can fire the bottom of 5% because, like, you know, they don't write code good. Yeah, you're right, but we don't know yet. It's kind of unconfirmed, isn't it?
Right.
For me, Copilot, I'm not a coder, but I mean, if you want to make basically PowerPoint presentations, or you want to do an Excel model, or things like that, shouldn't Copilot be able to assist you with that? Isn't that what it's supposed to do? I mean, I've not used it. I just don't know how to use it as yet, but I need to figure out how to use this thing. But I thought that's what it's supposed to do, like Office 365, an assistant for that.
So I changed the room title and I put a YouTube link in there because there is some type of criminal investigation going into Sushir Balaji's murder, not his suicide. So I don't know if anybody's concerned or interested in this, but I mean, Microsoft, Bill Gates, Sam Altman, and you're talking about billions and billions of dollars. I don't know what Sushir Balaji, why he was killed. Maybe. And anyways, just putting it out there.
So who do you think killed him? I would bet, honestly, I would bet Chinese Communist Party.
But Adrian, did you get a chance to see his mother's interview with Tucker Carlson?
No, I didn't see that. Let me find it.
If you get a chance, watch that interview. I was going in with a relatively clean slate, and I had no idea. But that woman, man, she just poured it out, and I was like, what the fuck? Because even the investigation subsequent by law enforcement authorities were so wanting, to put it mildly, and so wishy-washy, and I don't know. It just, it's super murky for me.
So there is, Elon Musk is Adrian Dittman on X, and he regularly talks about how he very much dislikes Sam Altman, and he doesn't want to see him get billions of dollars from, changing from a nonprofit to a profit status, and I guess the IPO or the Microsoft acquisition. So I posted the link to the Tucker Carlson interview if you want to see it. There's also been news reports, which I've been told not to speak of because Sam Altman's sister is supposedly crazy, schizophrenic, and she's an online sex worker, but she's also suing Sam Altman because she claims that over a period of, 10 years or so, he sexually molested her and raped her many times. So there's a lot of, it could be fake news, but when you look, anyways, I'm just putting it out there. Could just be all hearsay. It does seem like Sam Altman is hiding his identity or his, thoughts. If you look at his X account, it's all, and plus he made a statement, everybody's flip-flopping on Trump essentially, saying, after listening to Trump for a couple hours, I've reflected and decided that I am now with the Trump train.
Does China have a nuclear power plant?
Yes, of course. Of course. Yes, so that's true. Trump was trying to, apparently at Davos, this is one of the things you're talking about with Trump, is Trump was trying to get China and Russia to scale down the nukes, but apparently they think that's not, he specifically has been trying to ask them for those two things. But some people actually think Trump doesn't really hate China, it's all fake. But this is all stuff that you read in the Financial Times or something.
Trump is so mercurial. He hates and then he doesn't hate. Then he'll change that. I mean, he will change minute to minute, hour to hour, depending on the circumstances, and that's a good strategy for anybody that wants to obtain success in life. Is constantly change to your adapt to your changing environment. So to think that he hates China or hates this it's ridiculous. He hates essentially what has happened to this country. I mean, the having him in power is pointing out all the fucked up shit that is happening and has happened in the United States of America over the past 20 years.
Have you guys heard of the Changwang Satellite Technology Company?
No.
Tell us about it.
So it's a new, I thought you would know more about it than me. So I'm going to just Google it. Changwang Satellite Technology. There we go. It's a commercial satellite company, and it sets a 100 Gbps speed record. I don't know if that's fast, slow. I mean, you guys are tech visits, but
I'm looking at this. This was a month ago, but I'm reading about it in Indian news, the Economic Times, but it says, sixth generation stealth jet now accompanied with Starlink with 10x faster, 100 gigabyte Gbps space ground laser transmission. Wow.
Yeah, I don't understand what they're doing, but it seems pretty high tech.
Thanks for that, putting that on my radar.
Yeah, nuclear power plants and data centers. That's the way to go. Oh fuck! China is 55. Fuck.
China's 59 what?
Nuclear power plants.
Okay. In the US?
US, I'm still calculating right now.
Why isn't there a company that partners with nuclear powered plants to install, Bitcoin mining, auxiliary warehousing? Or I mean, why aren't these nuclear power plants partnering with big tech or software developers to essentially harvest Bitcoin? I mean, I know they already are, but what I'm talking about directly as opposed to servicing them as a customer.
I think the main reason they don't have an excess, they feed everything straight into the grid. Whereas some of the crypto startups have been for gas or the off gas from oil wells, and then abandoned gas plants that weren't producing enough for electric power, but still produce a substantial amount of gas. They can off flare and just have a steady stream. Another example is hydroelectric, where you can't capture everything. Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a lot of people in it. If there's a way to do it, they probably would. Well, another theory is that you don't need the power lines anymore, so you could have a nuclear reactor or gas well or whatever in the middle of the Ukraine or the middle of some mountains. And you could just have it simply mining Bitcoin with that energy. You don't have to transfer the energy anywhere with the power lines. So it could revolutionize these remote fuel sources. You don't have to build a structure to transport it. You can just mine Bitcoin.
Yeah, maybe it just doesn't make actually any sense to do that because if you decentralize it across a huge swath of millions of computers, uh, I guess that would be the optimal way to do it. Is to use, you know, I don't know if you know,
Well, right now the price of the Bitcoin is basically the price of the electricity it takes to make it, so it's pretty close.
well, there are malicious, viral infections within software that can essentially act in the background to mine Bitcoin off of your cell, your PC, your desktop, etc. I think there's millions of computers probably doing it, if not hundreds of millions.
Okay, US is number one, 94. China 56. Damn. India 23.
Those are nuclear. What about coal plants in China versus coal plants in US and India?
Why do you want coal?
Because coal is the one that is always labeled as the biggest, greenhouse emission thing. But I think with the modern coal scrubbing technology, the emissions are very minimal. But coal is the biggest polluter. I don't know if you've ever been on a coal train. When you get off that train, your face, your nose, you're covered in coal soot. You inhale a lot of coal.
China is the highest, 1,161. India 285. US is only 240.
See, that's a lot of Chinese emission.
China is the most polluting country on the planet. HK, get the fuck out of the place.
They produce everything for the whole planet. That's why.
Well, it's 1.3 billion people. Without those coal plants, you'd have hundreds of millions of people living in darkness.
No, but what Morel is saying is, let's say you need an hour of coal production, right, to produce, I don't know, let's say 50,000 shoes. And those 50,000 shoes are sold in, I don't know, let's say Sweden. So Sweden buys those 50,000 shoes. So should that pollution be apportioned to Sweden, or should that pollution be apportioned to China? I mean, that's kind of the question. Which
well, the fucked up part is that U.S. taxpayers are paying for Al Gore's bullshit carbon tax scam, and so these offsets are paid for by taxpayers. I mean, we need a revolution against the way in which taxpayers' funds are being spent on scams, which is, carbon tax offsetting.
First step of the revolution: put Al Gore in jail. I don't know why, but that's my suggestion. Just at least straight up put him in jail.
Well, the thing about AI and Bitcoin is that if all of this energy production is going towards, the AI generation of images and videos because people are addicted to their cell phones, or it's going to miners, I mean, I'm just saying that the human race and the way in which we conduct ourselves, it really is dog eat dog, and it's the taxpayers that get fleeced just 24/7.
Only 3 countries supply nuclear plant-based power to the grids that indirectly serve data centers or directly serves. So it's US, UK, and France. Damn. So US, I think with this whole deal, 600 billion or whatever that shit is, Oracle and SoftBank and OpenAI, yeah, they will be building a nuclear-based. Long term, we're looking good, Morel. Come on.
Yeah, isn't that what the Trump administration put out? That in conjunction with building new nuclear power plants or new energy plants, that the industries tied to those plants will be connected like directly, so there's no delivery. Got to give it to Dr. Bill Gates. He seems to be always in the know. How is that possible? Maybe it has something to do with his name. He's a gate. He lets things come in, he lets things go out. He's got a super powerful fence. He has a massive castle house. I mean, Dr. Bill Gates seems to always be at the threshold of problem, reaction, solution. Does he create the problems out of thin air and create the solutions out of thin air so the taxpayers can pay for the thin air?
Speaking of someone who should be in the prison, Bill Gates, I think they probably have tapes and tapes of him in Mar-a-Lago. They've got the tapes, the Epstein tapes of this fellow doing God knows what. So he's their little monkey to do what they need now. With the CIA admitting this came from Wuhan Institute of Virology last week, finally people are waking up that it wasn't conspiracy thinking, it was not misinformation, everyone was correct the whole way. When they said it came from the lab, when they said it had furin cleavage sites and all of that. And you know, when I think back, the people who were furiously wearing masks, washing down the grocery bags, they knew that this is a bioterror weapon or an accidental leak. Everybody knew. But it was play acting at first. We had to play, oh, pandemic, oh, pangolin. Oh, thank God, Dr. Fauci. Tell us it's a pangolin. Tell us it's a pangolin. And, you know, I think everybody knew. Well, most people knew. And then maybe 10% of the people spoke up and said that they were worried about it. But, yeah, this is the fact it was intentional is going to be hard for people to grasp. That's the next logical step that people will eventually make. But
even if the lab leak theory is true, that doesn't mean that it was going to spread all around the whole fucking world like lightning fire. Not going to happen. And so all the videos out of Europe, the fucking people on their apartment things, banging their pots, everybody's in a jumpsuit. The whole thing was mass hysteria, collective consciousness, propaganda, and the reaction and the response using the ZAV or the, you know, I don't want to say the word, that Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, AstraZeneca, GlaxoSmithKline, and 150 other manufacturers of these ZAVs, that reaction response was the problem, not this Chinese lab leak. Like, that was a low-grade bioterror weapon, but not...
I think this is a conspiracy theory that people don't realize because you didn't work the pandemic, you weren't in the ICUs, and you didn't see what happened inside for the first wave, second wave.
Yeah, that's very true.
And like I was over a nursing home. I gave everybody ivermectin. We lost only a couple of people out of 100. My friend's nursing home, just one county away, they had 100 people. Nobody took ivermectin, you know, vitamin D, any of it, and just 70%, 70 people out of 100 died. So, and that was a more typical. That was the same experience around the country. So,
but you attribute those deaths to the actual Chinese lab leak, really?
Man, hey, what else do you think it was? You think it was a goddamn...
It was a nursing home. It was a nursing home. It wasn't a college dormitory full of healthy, young, spriteful people.
Yeah, I know, but it's still the virus killed those people. So, and it was half of the nursing homes got killed off.
I mean, it's influenza, isn't it? It's a low grade influenza
no, it's not
bioweapon.
influenza, Adrian. This is the Midas and fucking this is the black people's theory, okay? You've been hanging around with these guys too much.
No, I mean, I heard Dr. Burks.
Let me explain it to you. They get a certain type of pneumonia called ground glass pneumonia. You swab every single person for flu A, flu B, COVID, and flu A, flu B, COVID, and bottom line, everybody gets swabbed with all three every time. And so you could say that there was a conspiracy and they swapped all the tests out or some shit, but if it was just flu, it would have been flu positive. Everybody who's sick gets a flu test. None of the flu tests were positive. They were all coming back COVID. So it takes 5 or 6 logical leaps. So if you're going to take that position for a moment, that it was nothing much of a virus, well, how were people dying, okay, from a different type of pneumonia and symptoms? Plus, not only the ground glass in the lungs, these guys had all sort of other things which were weird, like giant balls of COVID. Myocarditis and skin rashes that were unique.
I get it, but how do you?
Strokes.
I mean, if we were to form a statistical,
it was a new disease. It was a new constellation. It was a new group of disease. It was a new group of symptoms.
Okay, but statistically, what had the more detrimental effect, the response or the spread of this virus?
In the early days, absolutely the spread. In the early,
I know, but I'm talking about large numbers.
There's no question about it. In the first
I know, but
you're strawmanning some other argument.
I'm not. The now is all important. So, what was the final outcome now?
The problems with the response, you need to put that to the side for a moment.
I know, but what is now?
It's a totally separate issue.
What are the numbers now? I don't want to go back to 2020.
What do you mean? What the fuck what are the numbers now mean, Adrian?
That means when we look at VAERS,
we're talking about a lab leak and the disease that was inflicted upon all the people from that, which was massive.
I know, but what I'm saying is the response.
It was just a little virus. It was a little nothing. It was probably the flu. Is what you.
But when you look at that movie 12 Monkeys and you see how it was aerosol sprayed and brought around the world, by transportation. How is some little Wuhan thing in the mountains going to spread like wildfire to the whole fucking planet?
Dude, is it not? It's just a few flights. I mean, it's the same way flu would. And by the way, it wasn't overnight. It was a good 6-8 weeks. Slowly.
That would mean that it's the most infectious, super infectious thing.
The R value was way higher than other viruses. That's correct. Hey, you remember the Seattle choir? It's like 2 of them had it, and then they go into singing the choir, and then they come out, and out of 250, 220 had it. So the original strain was wicked.
So how do you? I mean, I guess like based on the host, the person who gets infected, the stronger you are, obviously, the better your outcome. I'm just saying, like
that's with everything.
Yeah. So how do we really look?
That's like saying the sky is blue.
I know, but what about the numbers then? Like the adverse reactions to the ZAV versus the infection. Like, what are the numbers really saying? Which one was more detrimental? Let alone, I mean, the ZAV has other implications outside of having a pneumonia type response to the infection, the original infection. I mean, I don't want to say the S word, which is, ends with an ization, but I mean, is there something in those injections which is causing birth rates to plummet?
It could be, or it could be the COVID itself. Certainly the birth rates are plummeting. It's probably the spike protein effect. Sure, the immunizations may not be so great for fertility, but it is what it is. The initial death was heavy, so the reaction was warranted to try to get a vaccine out. And whether it was all pre-planned and they had a plan to put a bad vaccine out there, or a money grab, or lockdown grab. These are all highly possible. The problem is Event 201. The one piece of information that people will eventually start to get concerned about is Event 201. The John Hopkins Bill Gates Foundation the prep meeting a year before COVID-19, they practiced a novel coronavirus. What would happen if coronavirus got out? And the leaders of the countries, leaders of all the media met together at John Hopkins. And the videos are out there. The syllabus is there. Everything's public information. But for people, now that you have the CIA admitting it came from the lab, that gets us across the bridge to where we can now say, okay, because before that, everyone still says it could have been pangolins, and Fauci was right, like a crazy person, even though 20 people have leaked it already. But now that it's official that it came from the lab, you have to ask, is it leaked intentionally or accidentally? So right now everyone's going with the accidental thing because we're being friendly. But the truth is, this is the reason Fauci was pardoned. So this was intentional. It was practiced, it was programmed. It's sick, but it's obvious once you look at Event 201. It's, what a coincidence. That Epstein Island guy is having everybody come together for the big move. But again, they should just take them all to Guantanamo Bay and torture them, in my view. But the smarter way to play it is to use them for your own, which is what's happening to Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and all these people right now. They're being brought with their knees down and have to be a tool of Trump now.
Yeah, well, they're not. They may be getting down on the knees, but it doesn't mean that they're not also, working back channels and plotting all types of mass misinformation communication. This whole RFK confirmation. The thing about RFK is he is like the source center of all of this because he has been documenting, researching, writing books, knows all the players, and if he gets in charge, and he can issue warrants for arrest, I mean.
No, that's not how it works. RFK doesn't send warrants.
No, I know not, but he would go to Kash Patel and say, "Here's the body of evidence." He's a lawyer. He's basically a criminal investigator. They're terrified of
Patel,
Kennedy.
and everybody's known about this for 3 years, so
yeah,
everybody knows. Everybody already knows what it is what's interesting here. No one's going to prosecute these people. Zuckerberg probably had to come down, turn over his administrative keys and everything to the system, to Trump's guys. So.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to taking away all the controls and allowing free speech, I mean, these people are under surveillance now.
Zuckerberg was meeting with Fauci on Facebook Live daily, weekly, and promulgating and talking about the ZAV and the research of it and when it's going to come out. It's just basically doing publicity for Fauci. And then after the whole experience is over, him and his wife in Chicago create the Zuckerberg Inflammation Institute to research ways to get rid of inflammation in the system, which is caused by long COVID / the ZAV. So they know they fucked up, and they were trying to make reparations by creating a new scientific research laboratory to figure out how to, solve a lot of the complications as a result of getting the Pfizer, Moderna, J&J ZAVs.
So you started off by saying the virus itself was just a itty-bitty virus, not a problem. It was probably the flu, correct? I think
that's the way I yeah, I mean, I hate to be compared with what's his face.
It's a natural feeling when everything else is faked out, but the virus was real and it was a killer. So
no, I mean, I'm not disputing that, but to me, it just the whole thing seemed like a psyop to get the ZAV injections, and that the problem was just
feels that way. It may well be, but their long-term goal of the vax is who knows what they want. Probably should make a ton of money.
It's a money grab, but when you hear the Bill Gates talk about Depop, you're like, well, this isn't just a conspiracy. Like, they really did it. I mean, they did it. Like, they've won. So that's it. If their goal was to severely, lower the population to 3 billion, 2 billion, 6. I mean, it may not be now, it's not instantaneous, but over the next 100 years, we could see the population significant, just constantly trend down because of this mass injection event.
But the population was already, is already on a decline, aging. I don't think that needed a bit of nudging anymore. You look at the world, India, for example, is aging faster than we thought she would. South of India is already at 2.1 replacement levels, TFR, that is, just above replacement levels. And the north of India is somewhat better. And the whole world is growing significantly older. And I think we have the opposite problem, maybe in 100 years.
Well, it takes 2.1 to create a replacement population. So I'm just merely pointing out that even if it was already in decline, we were still at somewhat of an equilibration around the planet. But this event, they injected the Western countries primarily. India too was heavily zapped. So was China. But like Africa, they couldn't get into the heart of Africa and really get a mass distribution in that continent. So they're not having the depopulation effect, which is they are having 3 children, per person in Africa. But anyways, I'm just saying that it does seem to me like a huge money grab, a huge scam, and a huge depop event. That's what it feels like and seems like to me. And I think
I'll be honest, it seems like I'm not a trained scientist on this at all, so I don't want to come across as I am. I'm learning from people like Moral, of course, and it just feels an awful lot like good science, bad security. And I can see that happen, right? In so many places, people are lackluster about security. The moment you begin to sound alarms, they're like, dude, why are you going all beast mode white boy on me? This is not a big deal. Just let it go. You keep seeing these kind of, standard operating procedures being violated all the time. Anybody that, tries to remotely pull these guys up automatically ends up being mocked. We see this across the world. That, to my mind, is way more likely than a population decline, Bill Gates kind of a thing. Respectfully so. Sorry, Maul, you wanted to go.
I mean, the Depop is an issue, but when you see young people, basketball stars, soccer stars, croaking out on the field, and they got the injection 2 weeks ago. I mean, there's an X account called Died Suddenly, and they're documenting many, many deaths all the time. It's just the deaths from these injections are still happening, and they're still encouraging people to get the injections all the time. I mean, it's just not stopping. I mean, maybe it has stopped now that Trump is in office, but I'm just saying that it's impossible to see the Depop because that is 50 years from now, 30 years from now, 20. It's not immediately happening. And I'm not saying Depop is maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, maybe bringing down the number of humans on this planet is, not the worst idea in the world, but it just seems immoral and creepy and evil. And I do think Morel is right. We won't see prosecutions because this is legal. I mean, it was legally done. So it's like, what are we going to do? Unwrap the whole thing? I mean, it's not going to happen. Trump moves forward. He continues. There's no going back in time. I'm just merely pointing out that, I didn't like getting an email saying, hey, if you don't take the Zab, we're going to fire you. What?
It's a bad cheating plural that they did. To now come and say sorry, after the election, now suddenly CIA says, yeah, it really did come from the lab. Yeah. So everybody who abused intelligent people for 3 years, badly abused doctors, fired the doctors, got them fired from the boards of medicine, shut down accounts for mentioning this.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really obvious for a couple of years. There were some Indians who made a paper early about the furin cleavage sites. It's a mark of bioengineering. It was very clear from the beginning.
Right.
And yeah, they fooled everybody. That it was just the science. And the fact that Fauci was calling for a pandemic 2 years before, for the 2 years before, it's coming. And then the fact that they had the preparatory meeting a year before called Event 201, it's really disgusting when you put the picture together here. It's a shame. And it's clearly made with the U.S. and China essentially are culpable. The story where Trump is going with, they say it's China virus. And that's a joke. This came out of a lab actually in North Carolina. It made its way there, fully funded by our government. And it was done in Wuhan because we don't allow that type of research here anymore. So even as an accident, it's a disgusting story. But the fact is, it's definitely not an accident.
I help me understand this. What kind of a lab would actually dabble around with really dangerous? Sorry, Andrew, I just want to quickly ask a question.
It was not an accident, based on Event 201, and that Fauci was talking shit about it before. Also based on the pardon of Fauci goes back to 2014. Okay, why would you do that?
So, I have a question to follow up.
The funding of the lab started in 2014. That's why.
Well, I have a follow-up question, if that's okay.
Sure.
So, what kind of a country would build a lab which is so contentious at the dead center of a massive metropolis in China? Why would they even do that? Let's just give them, you know what I'm saying? Let's assume that these guys built it and, it leaked out of a lab. But what kind of an idiot would have such a problematic lab?
That's normal.
What did they say?
The best one in the world's in Atlanta.
The next great mind virus.
You want to have all of the support staff that get everybody clean before they go in, and then they go in, and you have all of these techs and highly skilled employees. You only get that in the city. So the idea of the thing leaking out is never considered. It's not possible in a high level lab.
I see.
They're built that it doesn't happen. There has been no other lab leaks, but you're not supposed to monkey around with these viruses. So on a basic level, if you just say, look, they were just trying to make some cures. They were just trying to help humanity, and they accidentally leaked out what they were building. You could say, well, we should stop building viruses like this anymore and move along. But then you can just still say, why did the government hide the information so long? So for everybody in the spectrum, from left to right, everyone is disgusted now. Well, the right side, we already knew what it is. We're sitting here and saying, I told you so the whole time. What's wrong with you guys? But for moderates and for people on the left, they're shocked right now. They don't know what to really do. Because the government lied to them the whole way, basically, including their precious Fauci, the priest, who was pardoned like a dog, like a fucking war criminal. And he can't walk in a street or an airport anymore. He's so widely hated in this country. The guy cannot show his face without personal security. That's the situation with Anthony Fauci right now.
Dude, his demeanor wasn't that inspiring, to be honest. Something sly about this guy. The first time I remember watching the video of his, just after the pandemic was declared and whatnot. Something about him, dude, some vibe-related stuff. He just didn't come across as a decent person. It's a terrible thing for me to say, but I don't know, something about him that's off-key.
I'll have to say I was suckered in at the beginning. I thought he's our guy. He's our guy.
I see.
I was ready to do what Dr. Fauci said. I took Dr. Fauci's ouchies. I took the ouchie myself. So later on, it started to not make sense with his actions. He was more concerned about we shouldn't call it the China virus. Let's not make fun of Chinese. Yeah, the fellow's a strange guy. You know, he's 81.
Really?
Yeah, he looks very young, but he's an old man. Fauci's he got grilled by Rand Paul, and once the information started coming out in Congress, the lies started coming out. They subpoenaed his emails and subpoenaed his phone records, and so at that point, we started really learning this is bad. They knew very well that this could be lab leak, and at the same time they're writing the journal's articles saying it's definitely pangolin. It's an article called Proximal Origins of COVID. It was like the Nature, the first article that was by a guy named Christian Anderson, Fauci's best friend. So the whole world of virology is Fauci, Peter Daszak, and Christian Anderson is some of the top names, and they were all having their little stupid email chain talking about how some of the guys think it's lab leak. How do we respond? And he's telling them that's all just mount behind this natural source, and he basically had Christian Anderson write that in an article. It made no sense, and then it makes it's a fake article to soothe the population. There's no other explanation. I mean, you could say it's just they're trying to soothe the population and lie to us. That's a benign explanation, but yeah, these people need to get brought in on war crimes. They need to have a Nuremberg trial. They need to have a Nuremberg trial for these people. There's no other answer to me. But again,
well, I think someone was 80 or whatever, and then 75 at that point in time. I'm guessing he was 80 now.
if they can hang him by a rope at old age, it'll be just as delightful.
But dude, why would you do something like that? I mean, as a 40-year-old guy having a brain something. I can imagine that. But at 81, what could you possibly want more?
Why did he do it? You're saying?
Yeah.
Because there was a lab leak and he funded it illegally. This is all documented. Okay, so
right.
Let's just leave zero conspiracy out of it for a moment. Well, the fact pattern is that Fauci illegally funded the gain-of-function research, which caused the pandemic, and he was covering his tracks. So full stop.
I see.
So, and that's all clearly documented at this point. It's so well documented, he required a pardon by Biden. So the illegal research that led to COVID is the check is signed and it's shown. It's shown as a U.S. check to Wuhan Institute. Xi Zhengli is the lady there who was doing the bat research. We know exactly what the research was. The horseshoe bat stuff they were doing over there. They may have had a benign reason for it. They did have a good reason for it. They wanted to immunize the bats in the caves. Basically spread this around the bats and gives them immunity to COVID, so they won't spread COVID around each other. It's a air spread vaccine, essentially, if it had worked correctly. But it doesn't make sense though. It's targeted toward mammals, number one, and this is called the ACE receptor. So that's a problem with that theory. Yeah, this could have just been a mistake, and Fauci covered for himself, and that's the end of the story. But even that's as a government official, he's doing a lot of stuff with foreign governments at this point and foreign agencies, and coordinating with elements outside the U.S. lying against us. I think even on the simple case, you could make a case for treason and just bring the rope out and make it public. And, really put it on the television. It should be televised. If they did it, I would go the night before to stand in line with a little tent.
They're not going.
But they want unity, and I think Trump's going to play for unity. So he's just going to take these people and twist them, and it's typical Trump psychology. It's straight out of one of his books. So why make a mess when he can just use these people and bend them to his will, and use all of this information and evidence as leverage, like a blackmail, over all of them. And Epstein, why give any information about Epstein? Simply take the tapes, hold the tapes over all of these guys' head as long as they're alive. What better use of power, right? Than to have a guy like Bill Gates. Like Bill Gates is Trump's dog as long as he lives now. And I think that's probably the play they're making. I don't think Kash Patel will issue arrest orders for all these people. Of course, if he does, it will be my dream that morning when we wake up and they say Kash Patel has sent out warrants on Bill Gates, Hillary Clinton, Barack, all of them. That would be amazing, but that's just not realistic. It's not really useful either. It'll make a big mess. So, yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy that went on behind COVID. Exactly what happened is not clear. It's the nature of any conspiracy. Similar to JFK, there's no way to easily say who and what, because it's such a network of people who are operating in secret. They're not writing down their thoughts, and no one's speaking about it out of fear of losing their life, like Suchir. So everything's not a free democracy here. It's not like a pure meritocracy where the rule of law is paramount. It's just a human country where people do a lot of deceitful things. But yeah, my gut feeling is it's intentional, plural, because of the doing the practice session is just so damning. You can make the case, it was just a coincidence. But out of all of the different diseases they could have picked, they picked a novel coronavirus. And the whole thing, there's just too many coincidences. It makes the chance that the chance that this was a coincidence is very low. And they had all the world leaders of the health associations there. They had all of the major media leadership there. They were carefully practicing how to roll out the messaging. So,
do you happen to remember where exactly you were when it clicked in your head that this is a pandemic?
Yeah, I figured it was bioterror. Me and my brother saw the TV. We were in the doctor's lounge in the hospital. There was about 6 doctors in there. We were watching the TV. And, it's like the videos of the people falling down dead in China. Mm-hmm. And me and my brother immediately looked at each other and said, this is bioterror is the word we use.
Really?
But I think the fact it's a lab leak or a pandemic was clear really early. So the fact it was a pandemic was clear very early, and a lab leak of some kind or a man-made, it became, we guessed that could be it early, but then when the paper by the Indian fellows about the furin cleavage sites that came out March 2020, I think.
What are you laughing at, 10? You're the fucking brainwashed moron. You're the moron, 10. I hope you know that. You're stupid.
Clear as day.
You've been stupid for a long time. You'll be stupid for even longer if you stay stupid. You're stupid. Welcome to the truth,
So to
10.
my mind at that time. I
Oh,
thought
I'm
maybe they're
the
just
one.
trying to
No,
kill off-
you're the one. I said it first, Ted. You can't say what I said against you. You have to come up with something original. You're too stupid to do that, though.
Terrorist attack.
Ha ha! I win again,
Being
10.
through
You're a 0. You're not a
States, a lot of
10. You're
people thought that this
you're only
was-
half of a 10. You're that 0.
you-
Clubhouse
we-
hero.
we were
10 is
headed
a
into an election
0. You lost,
where
10.
No one was
We
able
beat
to
you.
catch Trump. He was way ahead of everybody. And the Democrat field produced Biden, who was a stumbling idiot.
That's what you are,
And
10.
then by the time
An idiot.
the summer came,
You won? What did you win? You won nothing.
and it became a mail-in vote. Biden won for no other reason than the mail-in vote. So, in my feeling, then and now, I think that was the main motivation or goal here, is to unseat Trump.